Mom and Dad couldn't afford a babysitter, so I stayed at my grandmother's house. There was an abusive family member who had mental disorders and would rape me. He would find me alone, minding my own business, and would force me into a closet, the basement, the woods, wherever, and just touch me in private places, put guns to my head, shove his in me, and verbally abuse me the whole time. It started out slow. Maybe once every few months or so, but as I got older, it got worse. I couldn't speak up about it because he had mental disorders, and who would believe me? I lived next door to my grandmother, and when I was about 8 or 9, he started sneaking into our house at night and raping me, tearing up my underwear, and holding his hand over my mouth to keep me from making noises and waking my parents. He would always threaten to kill my baby brother. At night, he would peek through windows in the home, and even my mom caught him trying to peek through our bathroom window once, so she ended up getting blinds for every window in the house. Keep in mind, at this point, she had no clue what was going on. Then, one day I'm at my grandmother's home, and he pulls me into the basement, holds a gun to my head, and has a younger cousin hold a rifle and watch guard on the door. He told me to lie on the floor and take my pants off. He placed my legs on his shoulders, which made it hurt a lot worse. With my arms crossed and pinned down, I just remember my back against the cold hard floor, as he rammed into me with nothing cushioning his blows. It started to hurt too much, and I made a loud noise, which was enough to alert my grandmother. She came downstairs and saw him holding me down. The younger cousin, with the rifle, dropped the gun, ran upstairs, and hid. She pulled us apart, grabbed me by the arm, and hit me repeatedly. She then brought me upstairs, in front of several family members, and beat me with a wooden broom handle. She hit me until I couldn't breathe. I felt like I was going to throw up. She yelled at me, "Don't you do it. If you puke, I will beat you harder." My family members did nothing to stop her. They asked what I did, and she claimed I was misbehaving, but didn't give specifics. She told me to never speak of this. She didn't want anyone else knowing. The whole time, he's chuckling in the background. It was raining outside that day. My mom got home from work and saw me on the floor, beaten and crying. She pulled me up and we went home. She asked what happened and I couldn't answer her. She had a talk with my dad that night, but they couldn't get any information from me. It led to a nasty fight between them. Mom blaming Dad for his side of the family being awful to me, him blaming her for her terrible spending habits, which led to us not being able to have a real babysitter. They got violent, and I hid under my bed. Nothing came of it though. I continued to stay at my grandmother's house on non-school days and in the afternoons. He continued to violate me. He found a nest of baby birds and dropped this heavy metal weight on them, just to smash them in front of me, telling me that my brother was next if I spoke up. He killed one of my kittens by throwing a cinder block on it. He killed another by drowning it and made me tell the family that it was me that did it. He assaulted 2 dogs in front of me, my grandmother's Shih Tzu, and our lab. The first time he ever got in trouble with the law was the time he was found in the county horse stables, doing sexual things with a horse. He was a tinkerer. He loved playing with guns and explosives. He loved taking cars apart and putting them back together. He liked sticking firecrackers up frogs' butts, just so he could watch them explode. He had these dead, dark brown eyes that looked like there was no life behind them. They diagnosed him as bipolar. He even beat his own mother, and she spoiled him rotten. Mostly because she felt guilty that he had disorders while she was going through a divorce, so she would give him everything he wanted. The second time he got in trouble with the law was the time he beat his brother with a baseball bat over a Sega Genesis game gone wrong. His mom had to call my dad, just to help save her other son. I cried and asked my dad not to go because I was worried he was going to kill him. My dad ended up calling the police just in case. After that, He was forced to go into therapy, and there was a grace period where it stopped for a bit. Then one day, I was minding my own business when he found me. He made me follow him into the woods. He stuck a gun to my head and made me bring a shovel. We walked until we came across an old blackberry bramble area. My grandmother told us to never go near that bramble because there could be snakes in there. It was very ironic that he made me go there. He forcefully shoved the gun up against my head and told me to dig. He told me while I was digging my own grave that he had had enough of me. I was scared, so I did as I was told. About a foot into digging, I hit a Rubbermaid container. He smiled maniacally and told me to open it. Inside were my 2 other missing kittens, decaying and lying in this orange, reddish liquid. When he saw my reaction, he burst out laughing. He picked up his gun and walked back to my grandmother's house, laughing the whole way. I remember cuddling the container and just crying. It was my fault those kittens were dead. If I hadn't adopted them, someone else who could have protected them would.